3D objects are comprised of meshes, materials, and lights, and by changing the interaction between these elements, we can drastically alter the appearance of a 3D object. Now I've got a file open here titled 3D Sphere, and that is located inside your Chapter 9 folder, so go ahead and open that up. Now before we jump into this 3D panel, I want to make clear the distinction between the Object tool and the Camera tool. So I'm going to select the Object tool by pressing K on the keyboard, and we're starting here with our Rotate tool. Now as I rotate this image, I want you to notice that along this bottom edge of this sphere, we've got a shadow here, and no matter how I rotate the image, the shadow is remaining down here. Watch what happens if instead I choose my Camera tool. I'll press N, that's the shortcut for Camera tool, and again with the Rotate Camera selected, now look at what happens. As I rotate this image, you can see that our shadow here is moving along with the image. So with the Camera tool, you are moving both the image and the light effects. So you can see that light, or lack of light in this case, is moving along with the object when we use the Camera tool. If I go back to the Object tool here, I'm simply rotating the image while that shadow is remaining stationary. So a big distinction between these two tools. Now I'm going to click the Home position here to reset the Object tool, and I'm going to press N for the Camera tool and reset that. So now we're right back where we started. Now let's take a look at this 3D panel. The first icon that we have selected here brings up our scene mode. This gives us a good overview of the image. We can see the materials, the lights, and we can choose the rendering quality here. Next to that, we have our mesh mode. Now in Photoshop, you can't alter the meshes, but you can add shadows to them. You can make the mesh invisible, so you do have some limited functionality here. Next to that, we have our materials mode. Now we're going to go in great detail into this in a few moments, but let's move on to lights. That's where we really want to get started talking about some very cool features. Now by default, when you create a 3D object, you're going to have at least two lights here. We've got Infinite Light 1 and Infinite Light 2. And down here at the bottom, we have an icon where we can show the lights here. So I'm going to select 3D Light. And you can see these icons representing our lights. If I click here and select the Light Rotate tool, I can adjust the light here. So notice I can move the light around the image, illuminating different parts of it. I've got a second light over here. I can choose Infinite Light 2, and I can adjust this as well. So you can see how I can adjust the lighting there. Drag this back up and let me grab the bottom. It'll be a little easier for you to see. So we can move the light there as well. Now those are the two default lights. We can add lights, and there are different types of lights that we can add. If you look under light type here, we've got a point, spot, infinite, and image-based light. So I'm going to go down here to my new icon and add a new point light. And I'm also going to add a new spotlight. So we'll see two different types of lights here. Notice that my point light is showing up here and my spotlight is showing here. I'm going to choose my pan tool here. And let's go find one of these lights. Here is my spotlight. And if I bring this over in the image, you can see this wireframe showing the angle and direction of the light. I'm going to choose my Rotate tool here. Now working with these tools can take a bit of getting used to, particularly with tools like Rotate, because with the Camera tools, you're going to have to be moving the mouse in the opposite direction of which you want to move the light. Now I'm going to go and adjust the intensity here to make it brighter. And now you can see, let's go back and choose this slide tool so we can pull this out. You can see that we've got a huge spotlight that we can adjust anywhere around the image. The brightness is fairly high just so it's obvious what's going on, but you can also tone that down significantly. Let's take a look at our point light here. And let's grab this guy. Now the icon for the point light is this little guy right here. And notice that as we move it around the image, how that's casting a light on our 3D object. So we've got lots of flexibility here with our light sources. So you can illuminate your object in all kinds of interesting ways. Now I'm going to hide these for a moment, so I'm going to turn off 3D light here. What I want to talk about now is something really exciting, and that is the materials. So if I click on this materials icon here, I'm going to click on this pull down menu here, and you can see we have a list of available materials. Now, you won't have this entire list of choices by default in Photoshop, but there's an easy way to add them. If you go up to the 3D menu and scroll all the way down to the bottom, you have Browse 3D Content Online. When you select that, you go to Adobe's website and you can download a range of materials free of charge. Now we can easily add to this list. So in this pull down menu, I'm going to start here with glass, and I'm going to append some glass materials here. Click the flyout menu again. We'll go for organic. And again, we're appending these. We're not replacing our default set, so we're simply adding material choices here. Let's go down and add stone here. Hit append. And once more, let's go and select plastic. Now, what's the big deal about having so many materials available? Well, materials are how you change the texture of your object. So you can get a sense of just the incredibly wide selection of materials that you have to choose from. Now, whichever one you select here, remember, you can adjust the lighting to it, you can add lights to it, you can rotate the object, you can show it from different perspectives, you can slide it, you can pan it, you can scale it up or down. You've got the object tool and the camera tool. So there's really no shortage of options here to tweak and fine-tune your object to get it just the way you want it. Let's move on now to our next lesson.